Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show you guys how to make kind of a super beginner level project, but one of the more daunting things whenever you're getting into making jewelry is how do I complete a piece from like start to finish, super like how do I make these beads and components and piles of tools and materials that I have into something that I can sell either on my Etsy store or in my booth. So let's get started. Here we have a very nice plated iron like component. I don't know what you would call this. Like, it's a focal piece, but it doesn't have any beads on it, and I don't really trust the enameling. So what I've done is I've gone through and I've spray coated the back with a bottle of PIM. It's Preserve Your Memories. It's an acid free, like very durable sealant that makes a very nice barrier. Please pardon my neighbors doing construction. It seems like if they're not cutting something with a circular saw, they're hammering or yelling at each other. So this is prepped and ready to go. And now over here I have some 18 gauge 1/8 inch aluminum jump rings that are super lightweight. And then we also have these green teardrops. And what I'm doing to do these is they're thread up onto a head pin, which looks very much like a little nail. And you can see it's threaded through, but it keeps it from coming all the way through the bead. And so I'm going to come in with my bent nose pliers, and I'm just going to do a 90-degree bend a few millimeters away from the head of the bead, and just boop, like that. See how that happened? And then I'm going to use my round nose pliers to insert right here, just coming in a little ways from the tip of the pliers, and then I'm going to bend this around so it looks like that, and then I'm going to reposition my pliers so that I can bend it around the rest of the way. Sorry, I didn't mean to deviate from the camera there. So now it looks like this. And so I'm going to reinsert my pliers and trade hands. And now I'm going to use my bent nose pliers to grab this wire and train it around the, for lack of a better term, like the stem or the neck of the piece. Oops. It's kind of difficult to do while looking through the camera. And so sometimes I actually just take it and kind of like flatten it around. And there's this little tail right there. You can see I want that smushed in very firmly. That way we don't have any little snaggly bits that are going to be poking you or tangling up in your hair or anything like that. Okay, so there's that one. And that one came out a little wonky, honestly. So let's see if we can't try to straighten it down just a little bit more. And sometimes it just happens that way. Yeah, no, that's just weird. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to trim off the weird end. There we go. So now instead of overlayering on itself, it'll actually kind of behave and fit down. So I'm going to put that in our little done tray that we have here. And I've got one more that I'm going to demonstrate on again. So hopefully this one doesn't go all weird. And just bend at a 90-degree. Sorry, I can't help but just laugh. Of course the neighbors are doing construction. Like, they were quiet all morning until I started recording. So I'm just shaping this around my pliers, trading hands. And these smaller ones are a little easier because it gives us some extra wire to work with, but I'm just going to grip it and train it around. And the goal is to get these coils that we're making, these rotations, to stack directly next to each other, but not go on top of each other or like overlap. So I'm going to trim that tail, just like that. I usually cover it with my finger to keep wire from like pinging into my eyeballs or something. And now I'm just going to train that little loose end down. And that's how it looks. And I love doing these because now, short of breaking the bead or snipping the wire, you're not going to have to worry about a loop coming open and losing your little dangly bit. So now from here it becomes more of a thing of construction. And the way I decided to position my beads, which by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but all the tools and materials for this project will be listed down below in the video description. So this is kind of the way I want these to attach. Just like that. So I mean, a super simple necklace design, but it's pretty, and sometimes that's all you got to worry about. So what I'm going to do is I have 7 beads here that I need to attach. So I'm going to open 7 jump rings. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wow, just enough, 6, and 7. And so from here what we're going to do is I'm just going to hook through the little loop we made on the bead, and I'm going to hook through the little loop on our component. And close. Yeah, found it. Sorry, that's called pinging a ring. And I totally just it just slips out of the pliers and like pings across the room. But I'm going to hook the little loop on here. And I'm going to hook it through our component. It doesn't really matter with these beads, but depending on what you're doing, it may matter which side is the front bead. Like is the front of the bead, but with these ones the positioning doesn't really matter. So I'm just hooking another bead on. So I mean, like I said, this is super simple, but that's a lot of, you know, as someone who's been making jewelry professionally for about a decade at the point of recording, a lot of our inventory consists of very simple designs that are very pretty. You know, because that's, as a jewelry designer, that's what I'm trying to appeal to. Because most people, unless they know how to make jewelry, don't really understand the complexities that go into some of the weaving pieces and different things like that. Again, I just wanted to show you guys, for those of y'all who are just starting out, or, you know, maybe you guys have a different way of going about making something like this, or, you know, maybe you would have thought of a different way of attaching beads, or, you know, there's no telling what we might learn from each other. So we're on our last 2 beads. And you can see here, I'm skipping this loop because the way that they hang, there's not really any space for it. So I'm just leaving it there as a little decorative loop. You could go in with your some heavy-duty wire snips or something and cut the loop off and then use a metal file to file it down. But I didn't really mind there being a loop there. I thought it kind of added to like a little loopy filigree pattern. So again, I can't emphasize enough, to each their own. You do you. So there we have our little drapey beads. I really love the movement and the vibrant colors. And of course, again, if it's not the neighbors doing construction, it's a train. It's okay though. So now I'm gonna get 3 more of these rings. And here we have a 9 by 13 millimeter lobster claw clasp. I like it because whenever it's closed, it's closed. Short of it breaking, you don't have to worry about it slipping out of the loop. And then here we have some chain. This is aluminum chain, and I am going to measure off, let me zoom out a bit, the center piece of our necklace. It's about 2.5 inches long. So whenever I'm making necklaces to sell out of the booth, because I want to fit a wide range of neck sizes, I try to have it go from like 16 to 25 inches. or however much. I can always shorten or extend it there in the booth, but in general, those seem to fit most people. So I'm going to do 7 inches of chain for each side. So I've measured off 7, and I'm going to hold this part with my wire snips and then kind of line up all the chain. So the next cut needs to be right there, and then I'm going to snip that side and then snip that one. And that cuts me off too without having to like really measure against the ruler very much. And now here I have another segment of chain, but it's a larger link. I like to use the tighter link stuff for in the front because I think it looks sleeker, but I like to use the large link for in the back because you want something that your clasp can comfortably hook through. So you can see that attaches pretty nicely. Oops, you know, throw it on the floor. I'll find it in a minute. Yeah, this is how I store my clasps. Whereas on this thinner chain, the hook doesn't really comfortably go through. Gosh, I'm just throwing those today. So I want about 5 inches of this chain. And that'll actually take us from the 16 inches to 21 inches. And I'm going to open the loop on this one. And then I'm going to attach it to one end of this chain. And I'm going to close it. And so there's one side of the necklace. I'm going to set that aside. And now I'm going to open one of these rings, just like that. And I'm going to hook my lobster claw clasp. And I'm going to hook the other end of my other chain onto it and close. And now I'm going to open up the other 2 chains, or rings. Words are hard. They're so hard. Now also, if you're making this for you, do however you like, but more often than not, people are used to the clasps being on the right-handed side. So if I were wearing this and putting it on, the back would be facing me. So it would lay down like this. So the side with the lobster clasp would go on this side. So I'm going to use these little rings to attach to the side here. And then I'm going to take this other chain, making sure that I'm leaving the larger looped stuff farther away from the focal point. And I'm going to hook through the chain. And then I'm going to hook through the focal piece. And so, I mean, technique-wise, this isn't horribly challenging, but honest to goodness, this is what the bulk of Randy and I's inventory is made up of. Yes, it's handmade, but it's varying degrees of handmade, because we would charge, for this necklace, I would do around $25, whereas, you know, something like this that's completely hand woven and took like hours to do, would go for significantly more. So, we like to be able to offer a varied price point in our work. So, yeah. Hey y'all, thanks so much for joining me for this tutorial. I do hope that it was helpful to you. And again, I can't reiterate enough, this is like a super simple design. It looks good as a circlet too. But it's for those of us who are just starting out, or if you just want to get some ideas for some quick, easy inventory before a convention or a craft show, or to beef up your Etsy. Yeah, I'd highly recommend this project. So if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below, or you can contact me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Again, there'll be links down in the video description below. And speaking of that, we also have a Patreon account. So if you guys like my free daily tutorials and would like to support the creation of more of them, as well as participate in my fairy house giveaways, my monthly craft crates, and all the different things that we do here at Back to Earth Creations, please go check us out there. Pledges start at just $1, and that puts your name in the hat for all of our different giveaways that we do, as well as, I don't know, you get to kind of be the powerhouse behind helping us accomplish all of the different things that we want to do here. So thank you guys so much for all of your encouragement and support. And happy crafting, y'all. We'll see you around. Bye.